Here's something simple, and that's the temper your expectations bit. I mean, this might not take all that long to show you, but it is interesting, and it's old, and I overpaid for it, and it's this. The Lyte from 1987. So, let me show you the Lyte. Now, in a preemptive attempt to liven this video up, because I'm pretty sure it will need it, I'm not going to say exactly what the Lyte is until we get it out of the box. See if you can figure it out, though, as we unpack this. First off, I'll give you a bit of a hint. It falls within one of the categories of things that I've shown quite frequently on this channel. So it came out in the US in 1987. This one has been imported to the UK from the US, and looking at the top here, I'm happy to see that it's the 2A model. That's the better of the two. So let's have a look. Right, first problem. The guy hasn't included a power adapter. Yeah, we've got the RCA plug on the back there, power adapter here, twiddly knob, on-off switch, and here's what's on the front. So what this is a spinning bar with effectively a VU meter on it, made up of a load of LEDs. And when it spins, it creates patterns. At least it would if I could plug it in. So let me try and find a suitable power supply. Okay, I found the information I needed online. This is 12 volt centre positive, and I found that on a pinball forum. I'll explain why that is connected to this in a bit, but at least now we can power it. And also, I'm going to connect up the audio input. Now, I'm going to use my PCM recorder, but I'm using it as an MP3 playback device because it can output in two places at once. One's going off to this, the other is off to the speakers. So I'll just plug one of this stereo pair in. It doesn't really matter because both channels are going to be pretty similar, so we'll just plug the right hand side in, and let's turn this around, switch it on, and cross our fingers. Otherwise this is going to be a very short video indeed, and a rather disappointing one. Okay, we're plugged in, so let's switch it on. Right, it's spinning. Let's get some music going. I'm just going to pause that because it's not very exciting. There's not an awful lot going on, so let's just mess with this sensitivity control. Ah, that's more like it. Look at that. There we go. Okay, lights down. Okay, let me hook you up to a direct feed of the audio so you can get the full experience. With the machine turned off and some light shone through the front window, you can see the circuit board quite clearly here that's doing all the work. There's a centre hub and then it rotates around there. This has 40 LEDs either side of that hub, and on one side they're one colour, the other side the other. And of course once it's spun quickly, the persistence of vision effect merges those two things together. If you look at the board here, you can see that the resistors and the chips have all been blackened. I think it's been spray painted over the top of by the looks of it. And even the legs on these LEDs seem to be black. So I'd imagine that once this whole thing's been assembled, they've had tape over the LEDs in the middle there, spray painted the whole thing black to cover every component on here, and then peeled off the tape. You can see those LEDs, they're not exactly level, they go up and down a little bit, and it looks like this has been handmade. Each one of those looks like it's been put in individually by hand, and that would explain the slightly wobbly nature of their appearance. Of course, it doesn't matter once the thing's spinning around. I did notice I had some dead LEDs, or at least it seemed like that, on the green side. I'd imagine around about this position here we've got perhaps 2 or 3 maybe that aren't lighting up. But it doesn't really matter too much, because once it's spinning, most of the effect happens towards the outer edge. But yeah, there was a dark ring on the green side, but the red LEDs, they all seem to be working just fine. I was just having a look through the instructions. It refers to this as the Lyte Audio Visualizer, and it says it adds another dimension to the enjoyment of your favourite music, vision. It produces relaxing kaleidoscope-like images created by sound. And it refers to how it goes about doing this with the 40 LEDs on each arm, and the fact the red represent the low audio frequencies, and it refers to the amber ones, although I thought they were green, as representing the mid-range frequencies. And it says if you put a pure tone in, you'd see a red light moving back and forth across one of the arms, but of course you can't see the arms because they're spinning at 1000 RPM, and it's the persistence of vision that creates the effect. And I thought it'd be interesting to send some pure tones into this just to see what they look like. So I've broken out the Korg K-Oscillator Pro, and this is the nearest thing I've got to a synthesizer. So we can send some audio into this and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to switch it back on. One thing to mention about this is, as soon as it's on, this spins around, and you can hear it spinning. It's like a fan going in the room, really, perhaps a little bit louder than that. So the idea of putting these on top of your speakers on your hi-fi, well, you need to turn the sound up quite a bit to drown out the low hum of these. Anyway, let's have a listen. Here's a chord. Okay, that's quite enough of that. Let me tell you about the pinball connection. In 1987, Data East launched their first pinball called Laser War, and in a very small number of the first batch, they had a topper on there, and the pinball topper was the Lyte. You can see it's in a different style of case here, but it's quite clearly the same device. This information comes from the Pinside forums, and they were kind enough to upload this flyer as well as one of the original adverts for the Lyte. I mentioned I got the 2A. Down at the bottom there you can see the 1A listed next to it. It's quite blurry, but at the bottom there it says the 1A has 40 light emitting diodes. Now it looks like it says 60 on the right for the 2A, but it says 80 in the brochure, so it's just basically half the number of LEDs, so a cruder display for the 1A, no doubt a little bit cheaper. I have no idea what these two devices would have cost. Oh, and here's the trademark information for the Lyte. It was applied for by a company called Clyde Industries in 1987, registered in 88, and the device is described as an electromechanically operated sound visualizer in the nature of moving lights for displaying a visual image of sound. I've also noticed in this pinball forum, actually, somebody mentioned that there's a Radio Shack version of this, so let me just have a look and see if I can find that in an old catalogue. And there it is. Oh, it's only $80. It's not bad, is it? The colourful electronic kaleidoscope. Yeah, I thought that would have cost a bit more. Maybe by 1992, which is when this catalogue's from, they'd found a way to make them a little bit cheaper. In fact, looking at the edges on there, you can see, hopefully, on that picture, they're rounded off. Now, that looks like a plastic case on that one, the way it's reflecting. Mine's made out of wood, and it's got squared off edges on it. So, yeah, it looks like they've cheapened it down a little bit. Oh, it also says a row of 20 red and yellow LEDs on a spinning axis. Maybe they mean 20 either side, but still, that's the cheaper one. So that's kind of the equivalent to the 1A. Oh, and I've also noticed right at the end there, built-in mic, which mine doesn't have. I wonder how long they carried on making this thing for. Let's have a look if it's in the next year's catalogue. Yeah, there it is in 1993. $70, was $80, so it looks like it's disappearing. No, there it is, still hanging on in 1994 for $70. Let's see if it makes it into 95. Yeah, things have definitely changed by 95. The heading of the page is Novelty Radios and Party Lights for Fun. It mentions these things are kids' stuff, and in amongst the kids' stuff, we've got these two devices here. These are the only ones that are left, a strobe and this colourful light show. The light has disappeared. Now, if you have a burning desire to find out any more about what's inside this, well, I'll link to that pinball forum. They show you the components that are inside the back. All the interesting stuff is really here, though, at the front with this bar with the LEDs on it. All you get inside the back is a circuit board attached to a motor, which goes through to that part on the front. So, yeah, not really worth taking this apart just to look at that. So there you go, I've shown you the Lyte, and we've followed the story of this one through from its origins in 1987. With this version in a wooden case and a circuit board that looks hand assembled, that also found its way onto a pinball table, through to its eventual demise in the Radio Shack catalogue in the early to mid 1990s with a plastic cased version which was probably mass produced and had a lower resolution. So I don't think there's anything more that I can say about this. So that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.